folks, Scott here with my 10 cards featuring the Love From Lizi October 2018 card kit. This kit highlights all the beautiful colors, shapes, and patterns of autumn. Lizi's kits are chock full of supplies, and she always has a surprise or two in store for us as well. I have to admit that other than a few Thanksgiving cards here and there, I don't think I've ever sent anyone a Hello Autumn or Happy Fall card. But as always, my goal with card kits are to use every stamp that's supplied in a stamp set and to use as many of the supplies as I possibly can with my 10 cards. So let's see where my poor twisted mind takes us this month. As usual, I do take the cardstock that Lizi provides in her kit. I cut them down and make card bases out of all of them. These are my 10 card bases. Now there are 10 sentiments in this stamp set. If you saw my unboxing, I mentioned that I really wanted to be able to add some of my own sentiments as well. So I actually came up with the idea of combining some of these sentiments together on one card. I thought that there were a few sentiments that worked very well together. So for our first card on the burgundy red card base, this is what we get. Warm tea, warm wishes. I thought those both went very well together. Now, I did cut away the coffee cup and the 2 laurel branches from the top of the warm tea sentiment. Those came together, there you go, on top. And I just did some stamp surgery and cut those apart. And then I lined that up between the 2 sentiments, warm tea, warm wishes. Now, I did stamp those sentiments with my archival Acorn ink and embossed them with some clear embossing powder as well. I did that all on that antique gold specialty cardstock, that shimmer cardstock. So I did emboss those just to keep mirroring the shine on the cardstock there. I cut the antique gold down to a strip and glued it down to this striped pattern paper. I added 2 of the copper peel-offs, really nice peel-offs this month. Added those strips on the top and bottom of that, and then I cut the whole shebang with one of my Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle dies. Of course, I did color the little heart in the middle of the cup with a red colored pencil. That worked really well on this specialty paper. And I figured that that tea towel ribbon should join this tea sentiment. So this is the tea towel ribbon covering up 2 stripes on that striped pattern paper. All of this is then foam taped to that burgundy red card base. This is a really nice, masculine, warm tea, warm wishes. There's more inside. Thank you. With a little tea pouch. It's our little pouch of tea. This is a nice little thank you to anybody that has done you a service and who likes tea. I took a piece of one of our cut-aparts and just fashioned it into a little pouch for my tea bag. I added a little ephemera heart to the front of that. I stamped a thank you on that again in the Acorn ink, and I used, I believe that was one of my real old paper pumpkin thank you stamps. I glued that to my standard Staples ivory cardstock that's been cut down to be the writing surface inside here. I did stamp that large cup in the little depression there, so it's hidden when the tea bag is in the pouch and it's revealed when you take the tea bag out. You have plenty of room for a nice message over here. This is a very useful thank you card that combines 2 of the sentiments from our kit. Warm tea, warm wishes. Thank you, and have a cup of tea on me. I really think this is extremely masculine. Stripes will always work for a guy card. So now that I was looking at this stamp set with the possibility of combining sentiments, a couple of them stood out to me, and I thought I could actually make a little bit of a pun with a couple of the sentiments in this kit. So on the peach card base, we get leaves are falling, autumn is calling. Now I stamped that stamp in again in the Acorn archival ink, and 4 of those little leaves on a scrap piece of my ivory cardstock. I did cut that out with one of my stitched rectangle dies. I did emboss those too. I used some clear embossing on all those stampings just to give it a little shine. I foam taped that down to the blue flower pattern paper that I had attached to my card front, and I took one of the dies that I bought fairly recently but haven't used yet. This is one of the LDRS dies that I got on a super cheap sale. I think they were like $2.50 or something. I figured for $2.50 we can always use something like this. This is what the die punches out. Really nice die set, especially for less than $5. I do believe LDRS still has this set on sale at their site. If you would like, I have a link to that on my website, cardcutups.com. Back to the card. I used that die cut to cut the burnt orange specialty cardstock and split it down the middle to go on either side of this blue flower pattern paper. I again reached for those copper peel-offs and used those at the seam where the orange meets the blue. I then grabbed one of the bark leaves and added that to the bottom here and took some of that blue twine and coated it with glue, wrapped it around a paintbrush handle and let it dry to make a little tendril on this leaf. There's also one of those little iridescent gems right there where the tendril knots around the stem of the leaf. Very pretty. I love blue and orange together. Leaves are falling. Autumn is calling. Where's the pun? Hello, Autumn. I think it doesn't help that I actually have a friend whose name is Autumn. And when you give me a stamp that says Autumn is calling, I'm going to use it, by golly. So leaves are falling. Autumn is calling. Hello, Autumn. I dug through my clip art stash and I found this lady on a telephone that worked just perfectly. I erased her little phone cord that was on the print and printed that up on some ivory cardstock, cut it out with a stitched rectangle die, and then I took some more of that blue twine and glued it and wrapped it on a tiny, tiny skewer. And when it was dry, I took it off, attach that to the card here for her phone cord, and then just stamped the Hello Autumn. I actually printed the image of the lady up in a little bit of a ombre going from black to brown that gave me a nice dark brown, and then I did the same on the sentiment. I stamped that in the acorn brown and then just stamped the right side of that in a little bit of the onyx black ink. So there's a little bit of an ombre going from black to brown to black again. Leaves are falling, autumn is calling. Hello, Autumn. This card makes me giggle every time I read it. And this is a tribute to my dear friend, Autumn. I think this little rhyming sentiment actually inspired this next card. The leaves are falling, autumn is calling, a nice little rhyme there. I think that inspired this next card. This is on the vanilla card base, and we've got winds are breezin', nights are freezin', 'tis the reason, blessed season. That really fills out that simple blessed season stamp. I really like this card quite a lot. I got a lot of materials from the kit all down on this one card. Now, I did sketch this sentiment using the papyrus font on my silhouette and using one of my brown Pigma Micron pens. They sketch really well with the sentiment. I sketched this directly on some of my ivory cardstock, and then I cut it out with a stitched flag die. Now, these are dies I also got at the LDRS sale. I don't think these are available anymore. This is the first time I've used them. A nice, good banner die. I think they call them flags, though. I took one of those dies and cut out the ivory cardstock. I then matted that on that great red and black houndstooth pattern paper that was on the back of one of our cut-apart sheets. I then mounted that to my card base. My card base is a piece of black cardstock just from my stock and another mat of that houndstooth paper. I glued those down to my vanilla card base, and then grabbed those lovely skeleton leaves and 2 die cuts from that antique gold specialty paper. These are our dies from the kit, those 2 leaves. I tried this with just the skeleton leaves. I tried it with just the die cuts. I liked it much better with all 5 of those pieces over on the side. Winds are breezin', nights are freezin', 'tis the reason, blessed season. I did attach this whole flag up to the card base with some foam tape. I tied a little double bow with that tan twine and attached it to the top corner here, attached the ends of the strings down on the 2 sides. Very autumnal. And of course, I thought we could add another sentiment from the kit here. So on the inside, we've got autumn blessings. That autumn blessing stamp works perfectly with this little poem on the front. I stamped that on my ivory cardstock. I cut that out with one of my stitched oval dies. I cut again the herringbone matte with another stitched rectangle die, glued those both inside this card. Now I can actually see myself using a card like this just to send somebody good wishes during the autumn season. And I think this little poem's kind of cute. Now, while I was working on this card, I looked all over for a font that would match this. I believe it's a hand-drawn font in the stamp set. I looked and looked and looked. I couldn't find anything. I ultimately thought that using a totally different font on this little poem would work very well, but I continued my search, and ultimately I did find a font that came very, very close. So that's this next card. I figured if I could add text before a sentiment, I should be able to add some text after the sentiment as well. So this card is on the burgundy red card base. And here we have cozy days lead to snuggly nights, which sounds like an invitation to me. I actually took my Distress Oxide inks and inked up the edges of this burgundy red cardstock. I was trying to get it to be a bit of a closer match to the red and black from the pattern paper. It worked pretty good, actually. I believe I finally went in with my Faded Jeans Distress Oxide and some Vintage Photo Oxide ink to do a little sponging on the edges. I brought that down quite a bit. I think it is a pretty good match to that red pattern paper. Now, I reached for my Gina K Designs stitched oval dies for this card, and I cut this center oval out of the pumpkin oval that was on one of the cut-apart sheets. I ran that through my printer to put this leads to snuggly nights sentiment on there. That is in the Brushgyo font. A link to that will be on my website at cardcutups.com. But I thought that came really, really close to matching the handwritten font from the stamp set. This is, of course, that houndstooth pattern paper again. This is a piece of my black cardstock for the third mat. I glued those all together. I took that gorgeous antique gold specialty paper and ran it through my die cutting machine with that embossing folder. So it has that really nice knitted texture all over that. I took that piece, I of course cut it out with a stitched rectangle die, matted that to a piece of the gold mirror specialty cardstock. Lots of shine there. I mounted up all of the ovals with some foam tape to this card front. I dug out the mushroom from the ephemera kit and die cut 2 of the leaves. I believe these are oak leaves from the mirror gold specialty paper and added those to the bottom of this oval, effectively covering up that pumpkin and the flowers. A few sequins here and there. The red sequins, I have to admit, are from the special edition Thanksgiving kit from Love From Lizi. The other sequins are from the sequin mix here. Cozy days lead to snuggly nights, and that's the best. Now, there are 5 little bitty leaf stamps in the stamp set this month, and I've started playing with my little homemade wreath builder template. This again is on the peach card base, and we get Here Comes Fall. And a nice little wreath filled with all of those stamped leaves. I, of course, stamped everything using my wreath builder template, and all of those leaves, I put them in a couple of different arrangements around here. This is all stamped on my ivory cardstock, die cut with a stitched rectangle die, wrapped with a piece of that chevron glitter ribbon, very pretty. I colored all of these leaves with my Zig Clean Color Wheel Brush markers. I like this because there was not much of an opportunity to color with this kit. Not a lot of images that were begging to be colored. I, of course, did practice this. I'm just getting used to using that wreath builder template, and I did practice this. It came out to be a really nice wreath. I think I made a slight error in judgment by stamping the "Here Comes Fall" sentiment right in the middle. I thought it fit perfectly, and yes, it does fit perfectly, but it kind of takes away from the wreathiness. I think you have to have a little bit of a hole in the center in order to call it a wreath. So maybe this is just a leafy ball. This is my "Here Comes Fall" card. I did tie a bow with that chevron ribbon. This is pretty thick ribbon, and so that's a pretty chunky bow. But of course, a bow always goes nicely with a wreath. This is my "Here Comes Fall" card with the pumpkin, a few of the sequins from the kit, and some of the Nouveau drops in that ripened pumpkin. Of course, I could not leave well enough alone. And call me juvenile, call me childlike, call me immature. But if here comes fall, then have a nice trip. Now, boy, there's an old one for you. I did print this up using that Brush Guillot font on my Silhouette software on a piece of my ivory cardstock. I matted that to a piece of that great orange polka dot cardstock. Again, that's cut with a stitched rectangle die as well. Added that to the inside for my writing surface. Here comes fall. Have a nice trip. Now, we did receive a huge stash of ephemera pieces in this kit. I tell you, you could make 20 cards just using the ephemera pieces that came in this kit. And there was one sentiment in the ephemera stack that caught my attention and thought would make a great fun card. On the vanilla card base, again, we get Nuts About You. Now, this is my fun Acorn card. I really like this a lot. On that vanilla card base, I did take that vintage photo Distress Oxide ink, and I inked up just the two edges, just the right edge, just the left edge. I didn't want to do the top and bottom, just the edges to give this a little character. And then I took that great acorn pattern paper, and I discovered the pattern and decided to cut a panel of that goes right down the center of these three lined up acorns. I fussy cut those acorns along with my line to make that center panel, glued that down to the card base with some foam tape, and I wrapped some of that crushed silk ribbon in burgundy down the center. I added the ephemera pieces, the three acorns, and the Nuts About You sentiment on top of that ribbon down the center with some nice thick foam tape. Those are popped up nice and high. I did reach back into the August 2017 Love From Lizi kit for this autumn red Nouveau drops. Those match that ribbon perfectly. A really nice card. This really features the ephemera pieces. This is a great Valentine card for anybody who may be a little corny or a little squirrely. Nuts About You. Nothing on the inside of this one. Now, I did have my eye on a couple of the cut-aparts that really attracted me. I really liked the circle that was in the middle of that burgundy field of flowers. So for my next card here, this is on the chocolate brown card base. We've got Autumn Leaves. Now, this is the cut-apart piece from the cut-apart sheet that has that nice open circle right in the middle. Now, when I was looking for a font that might match the handwritten font of our stamp set, I also grabbed a stamp set that I bought a while ago. This is a My Favorite Things mini well-connected alphabet and numbers stamp set. And I really liked the fact that you could stamp words that actually looked like they were handwritten. And that's what gave us the autumn leaves. Of course, I had to practice that a few times. I'm deathly afraid of stamping on a piece from a card kit without planning well in advance how I'm going to do it. I also dug into my Love From Lizi stash. Look at that glitter paper. I found this chocolate brown glitter paper from the August 2017 Love From Lizi kit. It is so sparkly, and it matches this pattern paper brilliantly. So I stamped the sentiment using Onyx Black ink and the well-connected alphabet stamp set. Right in the center of the circle, I cut out that cut-apart piece and then mounted that up onto a mat of that dark brown glitter paper. Then I covered my card base with a big strip of that matching pattern paper and cut thin strips of the glitter paper to go down the sides. Now I did find a couple of dies, a stitched circle die and a nested circle die, that together gave me this really nice little sparkly frame around the circle. It's not the perfect size, but it's so close nobody will ever notice. Autumn leaves. I then dug into the ephemera pieces again, and we had that one wreath ephemera piece that had a banner across the middle of it. Well, I cut the banner away and saved two of the laurels. I attached those up around the sentiment with some foam tape, grabbed the two leaves from the ephemera piece, and attached those in that center area too. Here we've got a really nice autumn card. Autumn leaves, I won't. Now, if that ain't a card with a purpose, I don't know what is. Again, this tickles me very much. I not only love all of the glitter on this card, I really like this. Autumn leaves, I won't. I stamped that again using the well-connected alphabet stamps. I stamped that on one of the round ephemera pieces and then gave it a little bitty mat of that beautiful, sparkly glitter paper too. Autumn leaves, I won't. I really like this card. I really like the double layers of that matching pattern paper. Too much fun. That well-connected alphabet stamp set even has an apostrophe. You just can't go wrong. Okay, regardless of the little punny sentiment here, I thought this was a little bit serious and kind of somber for most of these cards here. You know, it's the end of the growing season. Everything's getting ready to hibernate and go into our winter sleep. So I thought I would go for something totally silly for this next card. So on the sky blue card base, we get Let's Get Smashed, featuring the orange pumpkins from the ephemera set. Now, I did take that other piece of the blue leaf pattern paper, and I printed up this sentiment on it using my Silhouette software and my favorite Brady Bunch remastered font, Let's Get Smashed. I added that to my sky blue card base and added some of the peel-offs along the two edges. I then took another one of those LDRS dies, split it down the middle, and used it on the two edges of the blue. That gave me enough room to reach for that great copper ribbon that came in the kit and run a strip of that across the top and across the bottom. I, of course, went in on those two pumpkins and gave them a little bit of character with just my fine point Sharpie. It almost feels like somebody's trying to corrupt the other here. But Let's Get Smashed. They are pumpkins. And I kind of like the little double entendre here. Just a plain white writing surface on the inside. Pretty straightforward, but at the same time, very cute and rather silly. Now, other than the bark leaves, we also got those wood slices in the kit, and I was dying to figure out a way to use those wood slices on a card. So for this next card here, this is on the chocolate brown cardstock, we get I'm Pining for You. Perfect little pun to go along with these wood slices. I took that great black and flowered pattern paper, cut it with a stitched rectangle die, matted that on a piece of white cardstock, glued that straight down to the brown card base. I then dug through my stamp stash to find some heart stamps. I wanted them in 3 different sizes. I tell you, if you're looking for a heart stamp, just grab almost any Simon Says stamp set, and chances are really pretty good that there's going to be a heart or 2 in that stamp set. I found 3 hearts of different sizes and stamped those onto these wood slices using the Hero Arts red reactive ink that we got, I think, in the June kit this year. It worked very well on those wood slices. And then I, of course, turned to my silhouette, and using that brush Gyo font, I printed and cut this sentiment using my silhouette. I cut out 4 layers, glued them all together so it's a little chunky like a piece of chipboard. And then, because these slices are thick enough, I add that to the card front with some more foam tape. I was a little iffy about this card when I was first putting it together, not sure whether I would really like it or not. Once I glued these wood slices down to the card base, I put a weight over the top of it to hold everything down flat while it dried. I came back to that about an hour or so later and took the weight off of it, and I was like, oh, that's really a very attractive card. And a nice little pun too. I'm pining for you. I don't know if this is really pine, but I'd almost bet you that it is. Now, I still have 3 stamps that I haven't used on this kit. I have the Be Thankful stamp that has that little sunflower. I have this Rainy Season stamp and the umbrella that I haven't used yet. So I thought, yes, let's use them together on this very last card. On the sky blue card base, we've got Be Thankful for the Rainy Season. Now, there's a reason to be thankful. I did print the For Thee using the brush Gyo font on just a scrap of white cardstock. Used very small between 2 of the sentiments. It almost blends in perfectly. You almost can't tell that that's a different font completely, that it's not been hand drawn as well. I like this sentiment, Be Thankful for the Rainy Season. That's all stamped again in my Acorn ink on white cardstock. These are colored up with my colored pencils. I took the umbrella stamp and stamped those up and down the left and right side using the Summer Sky Hero Arts ink, and I colored those with my colored pencils as well. I took a scrap piece of blue cardstock that I had and my little My Favorite Things mini cloud stencil and one of the Tim Holtz ink blending brushes and the Iced Spruce Distress Oxide ink to create my little cloudy sky here. Now, I did try to make that a little bit of an ombre, so it's darker at the bottom, gets a little bit lighter at the top. Be thankful for the rainy season. No rain, no rainbows. It's been a while since I've done a pop-up card with one of my 10-card videos. I think this works great, and I tell you, it gave my soul much pleasure to be able to bring in some bright rainbow colors to this very autumnal colored set. Be thankful for the rainy season. No rain, no rainbows. Now this actually, if it lays flat, the rainbow tilts back just a little bit. So I really like this. This is really very simple to do. I just took my stitched rainbow die. I cut that out of 6 different pieces of rainbow colored cardstock and glued them all together onto just a piece of blue paper. And then I scored it down the center, added it, kept some tabs on the side, glued that down to the card base. Once you score it in half, all you have to do is give it a little bit of an angle and it'll be a pop-up. Now, most pop-ups will come from the top down, so you see the image the whole time. I wanted this pop-up to be on the top of this card, so I had to fold it forwards instead of backwards. I still think it works great. Be thankful for the rainy season. No rain, no rainbows. There's a little color for those of us who are begging for some bright sunshine in the midst of our rainy autumn season. So that wraps up my 10 cards, 1 kit for the Love from Lizi October 2018 Hello Autumn card kit. I'm really pleased with these cards. I think they ultimately are extremely masculine and a little bit outside of the box as far as the autumn and or this kit is concerned. I of course have all sorts of leftovers. I used all of the cardstock. I have some good pieces left of the specialty cardstock. I only have 2 complete pieces of the pattern paper, so that means I used 6 pieces of the pattern paper. I did use quite a bit of this one cut apart sheet and used some bits and pieces from the other cut apart sheets as well. I of course have those great copper peel-offs that will find a loving home in my stash. That great knitted embossing folder. I actually managed to use at least a little bit of everything in the embellishments bag. I used all 5 pieces of the ribbon or twine. I used some of the Nouveau drops. I used the skeleton leaves. I used the dies. I used one of the bark leaves. I used all of the tree slices. I used one of the iridescent gems. I used a few of the sequins here and some sequins here. I used a little bit of everything in this kit, which always pleases me to no end. And I, of course, did use every stamp in this stamp set. So as far as I am concerned, I have met my goal and created 10 cards that are entirely specific to this great Love from Lizi October 2018 Happy Autumn card kit. Oh, thank you so much for sharing your time with me here. You don't know how much it means to me to be able to share some laughs and some ideas with you here on my YouTube channel. Please like me, list me, pin me, post me, share me with all of your friends. Don't run with pumpkins. And by all means, I send you and yours all of the blessings of autumn. And happy crafting. If you'd like more detailed information, better pictures, and product links, please visit my website at cardcutups.com.